Hey guys, Anonymous Nationalist here. I'm going to be discussing the Sabarimala verdict by the Indian Supreme Court. Women aren't allowed into the Sabarimala pilgrimage if they're of menstruating age. Young girls, that is before they hit puberty, and older ladies, that is after their menopause, that means they don't menstruate anymore, such women aren't allowed to go inside. So the custom is based on the negative connotations associated with menstruation. It's been a tradition for a long time in Sabarimala. There is a similar tradition with regards to prayer rooms as well. Like my mom doesn't go inside the God's room to pray when she is on her menstruation cycle. She said that this rule kinda makes sense since during menstruation she is not in a good state of mind to pray anyway, so that rule kinda makes sense for many religious women. I asked her about what she thought about the negative connotations for the very natural process of menstruation and whether that should go away from society. She agreed that it should indeed go away from the society. She agreed that the Sabarimala rule is a bit unfair because it disallows women of menstruating age itself to go in, whether they are having their menstruation cycle at the moment or not. But she said that the change should come from within the people rather than be imposed from the outside. This seems to be the main argument of people who oppose the Supreme Court verdict. I agreed with her. Ideally, that is the case. Change should come from within. But women got voting rights in USA in like 1920, even though they were a country for hundreds of years. That's because the women fought for it. Same thing happened in Western Europe. Indian women, though, got their voting rights right from the starting of our country itself. One could argue that we could have not given voting rights to women and let them fight for it. But we didn't do that. Our founding fathers gave the rights from the starting of India itself, that is in 1950, because that's the morally right thing to do. What's more important is what is the morally right thing to do, not where the change came from. For example, if we waited for all Muslim women in India to wake up and demand improvement in Muslim divorce law, that would have been too late. The right thing to do is to have the Supreme Court deal with it when a case came forward. And there was the Shah Bano case that came forward, and our Supreme Court made the right decision there. But Congress, since they wanted to appease the Muslim leaders, all of whom were men, they went against the Supreme Court. They undermined the secular credentials of India. BJP recently did the right thing though, on the triple talaq. Here there wasn't even a case filed. They decided to just do it. This is not a case of change coming from within, but it is the morally right thing to do for women's rights, for Muslim women's rights. It is also a secular thing to do, and I support this move by BJP. Similarly, we had some young activist women in Kerala who filed this case about Sabarimala, and although change should ideally come from the women who want to do the Sabarimala pilgrimage, the right thing to do at this moment is to let the Supreme Court deal with it when a case comes forward, and it did. Another big argument is about the religious freedom. Religion can be of two types, personal or institutional. Institutional religion has some issues because the people involved hold a lot of power. These priests in churches, these imams in mosques, these pujaris in temples, these babas and godmen, all of these guys hold a lot of power because politicians try to use them for their influence, and this power corrupts them. Personal religion is the direction we should move towards. For example, the practice of religion in advanced nations in Europe is usually personal, and everyone has their own interpretation of Christianity. Similarly, we should allow the Hindu men and women to practice their religion the way they see fit. We should allow the Hindu women who wish to do the Sabarimala pilgrimage because according to their views on Hinduism, they don't believe in that particular custom that the Sabarimala temple has that disallows them from doing the pilgrimage just because they are of menstruating age. And they should be allowed to do it because personal interpretation of religion should be given more importance than the power of the institution around religion, like the temple in this case. This is basic religious freedom to practice your religion the way you see fit. This individualism is very important. For example, the Catholic Church was an insanely corrupt institution, and they gave a bad name to Christianity in the past, so much so that the Christians formed a new group called Protestants, who protested the grotesque corruption of the Catholic Church. Even now, the Catholic Church has many issues, like the pedophile priests that they protect and essentially support. That institution is so fucking corrupted, man. Many Christians hate the Catholic Church and what it stands for. They have disagreements with the church's interpretations of the Bible, and they have their own interpretation of Christianity that they follow. And each individual should practice their religion based on their own interpretation. Another example of the failure of institutional religion is Islam allowing sex slavery in the past, Christianity allowing slavery of Africans in the past, Hinduism allowing the caste system and allowing the poor treatment of Dalits in the past. And many Dalit women were also sold as sex slaves to Brahmins and upper caste men. They were called Devadasis. So even in Hinduism, there was a dark past of abuse by some of the pujaris of some temples. Obviously, the Sabarimala temple is nice. They don't have the negative history that these other churches and temples I mentioned have. But the idea is that we shouldn't let these few people in power to define Hinduism. The religious Hindu men and women should define their religion. You see so many Muslim models in India being targeted by random Muslim commenters online. You see Sana Khan being criticized. You see Muhammad Shami's wife being shamed just for wearing a sleeveless top. It's fucking ridiculous. Those women should get to decide how they practice Islam. Who the fuck are random Muslim men online to comment about what a woman decides to wear? The Muslim community should have no power over what an individual Muslim woman decides to do with her life. And this promise is enshrined in our constitution. She has that freedom. Women have freedom and religious freedom. That's the argument for changing this custom of Sabarimala where women of menstruating age are prevented from doing the pilgrimage. Related to this, there are also BJP trolls online who attack women with death and rape threats if they speak out anything against BJP. This is completely unacceptable. Prime Minister Modi even follows some of these trolls on Twitter, which is fucking ridiculous. Apparently there's no other leader in the whole world who follows those hateful trolls who harass women on Twitter. Anyway, coming back to the point, institutional religion has issues, man. And any private temple or mosque who gets tax exemptions from the government needs to abide by human rights rules, that is, not discriminating against women or any other group. Private entities like Sabarimala and other temples and mosques get tax exemptions from government, so they should follow the rules of the government and the Supreme Court. So they can discriminate against women who are menstruating. This is very similar to the discrimination against women with respect to divorce that was happening in Islam. Our Supreme Court is very consistent in protecting the civil rights of women in India. I know that the triple talaq case is of a way bigger magnitude compared to the Sabarimala issue, but it's about the principle. It's about the principle of equality. I wanted to take a moment to discuss some feminist ideas. Menstruation being considered impure and treating women as impure as a result when they are on their cycle has been used by men to systematically put down women throughout history. This has happened across the world, not just India. Systemic putting down of women using shame via concepts like virginity and menstruation are just tactics to keep them down. We should wake up, especially Hindus, who had a tradition of being way more open-minded about the human sexuality, even female sexuality, than the regressive Christianity and Islam which shamed women's sexuality. We have so many goddesses who are celebrated. We have the ancient text of Kama Sutra. We were a sexually liberal religion. Look at the temple sculptures depicting the natural processes of sex. There is no shame in that. But Christianity and Islam brought their conservatism and influenced the Indian society negatively. Hinduism was a way more liberal religion in the past. We should embrace that origin of Hinduism. We gave up bad customs like sati. We can give this custom up too. I know that there is a big difference between not allowing women to do a pilgrimage versus burning widows. I recognize that difference, but the principle is the same. We shouldn't discriminate. The Indian Supreme Court has always been on the side of human rights. This is something we should all be proud of. Just like in the case of triple talaq, where they supported uniform civil code, hence supporting the civil rights of Muslim women which were being denied by the Muslim personal law. Now, after this Sabarimala verdict, Muslim women activists in Kerala are also trying to file a case to allow them into mosques. That's good. Indian women of all religions are coming together to fight for their basic civil rights. This is beautiful. I wanted to discuss some other arguments against the Supreme Court verdict. One argument is that we have communists and atheists imposing on the Hindus of Kerala. This is a flawed argument because all the Kerala government is trying to do is implement the decision of the Supreme Court. They have to honor the highest court in our land. And I think human rights and personal interpretation of religion are more important than this issue of who imposed on whom. The moral argument of what is the right thing to do is more important than who imposed on whom. We Hindus imposed on Muslims when we did the triple talaq then, but that was right for Muslim women, isn't it? Similarly, this issue is right for Hindu women. I get the anger of the people. External entities are coming and imposing on their religion. But I think the people can let go of this custom. We let go of draconian customs like sati, where widows were burnt alive. Even in that case, there was some external imposition from the British, but that was clearly the right thing to do, and we did that. I also heard this other silly argument that it was just one Hindu woman who filed the case. Cases always take just one person, man. That's just how the law works. Anyway, that's it for today. If you guys like this video, please like, share and subscribe. This is Anonymous Nationalist. Peace out.